Hello everybody, welcome to the IT Skills channel. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the next phase of this nice Nutanix series we have. In the last video, if you watched it, I recommend you watch it if you haven't watched it, but if you did watch it, you probably saw that we took a look at the IPMI. What is IPMI? It's a way for us to be able to go ahead and configure a way to manage our Nutanix environment. So it's very important that in Nutanix or any server for that matter, you have a way to do things in the back end as you would normally do while you're physically there. And IPMI will allow you to do that. You don't have to be next to the server to manage everything. It will just work. You have to know what the IPMI IP address is and the username and the password. Once you have that information, you're free to do whatever you normally do while you're physically next to the server. In fact, I'll argue that this is actually a lot better than being next to the server. You have more control than you would get with a physical server. And you also have to wait for the server to boot. This one, you don't have to sit around. You wait for it's a reboot, and then once after that, you can connect with IPMI. So we did this because this is important to what we're going to do next. This is important to our next video series, which is wiping this Nutanix Prism element and reinstalling the Nutanix Prism element again, basically the Nutanix operating system again. In order to do that, we have to actually have this prerequisite done. If we don't have the IPMI and the nodes are not discovered, we cannot do that. So the next video we're going to switch to, or in the other screen, and here we're going to use something called Portable Foundation. Portable Foundation, think of it as a way to manage your Nutanix environment without actually getting out of your desk again. Again, this is important. The only caveat is, unlike the IPMI, the Portable Foundation requires you to have line inside to the server, meaning that you have to have the laptop you're using for the Portable Foundation connected to the same network as the Nutanix is sitting. So you do have to go to the data center for this part or whatever your office may be and then do this. So I'm going to open the Portable Foundation. It's already open actually. So I'm just double opening it right now. But once you open it, you're going to get a browser. This is what the browser looks like. What eventually we are trying to achieve. We're trying to see this all green lights. I'm giving you a preview, but I'm going to do this all over again so you guys can see it. But point is, you assign the IP address of your IPMI, which you saw earlier, and then you assign the host IP address and you assign the CVM IP address. So in total, this is a 3-node cluster, but it will require basically almost, as you can see here, 9 IPs reserved, and more actually if you start to include iSCSI and data services and stuff. So you definitely need to have an IP slot available for your services. After that, it does this. It will go ahead and actually configure the cluster for you by name. You can name the cluster and it will do everything for you. You have a log with everything, which is beautiful about this thing is that it's a log that with everything. It's almost like you can troubleshoot every step of the issue easily. Let me close some of the other tabs so you can better see this. But point is that when you get to Nutanix, you're in an elite group of processing / administering server. So if I look at this one over here, it tells me from the beginning all the logs, what is happening all the way. I'm informed. I can download the logs. I can show this. If I'm doing this as a customer consulting business, I could actually say, here's what I've done. Here's my log to show that everything's successful. This is the next one. You can see that. Amazing stuff. And then after that, the last log we can take a look at is this one, dash cluster formation. You can see all the things that goes down to form the cluster. If you do you can do this manually, by the way. All this cluster formation, you can do this manually, but it is dang difficult to do it without the Portable Foundation, so which is amazing. So to restart the Portable Foundation, I'm just going to go back to create deployment. We're going to use the same IPs again. In fact, I'm going to make a duplicate screen because I don't want to go look at the IP somewhere else. So I'm going to click on Portable Create Deployment. I'm going to choose the network of my Ethernet on the device. Everything is going to be the same. If you want, you can select Nutanix. It won't matter. It won't detect it anyway. Sometimes it does detect it. And then from this point on, you can see that it has the nodes and everything else for me. But what I want to do is actually, I have two options. I can enter everything manually for you, or you can just see this. I'm just going to rewipe it again. But this is the information that's going to require. IPMI, host IP, and CVM. It will require that. And then you also need to name the host. Once you do this, you have option to choose hybrid converge, or you can choose compute external storage. Use this as external computer. You can do that. I don't want to do that. I'm just going to use this hybrid converge. So I'm going to hit next. From this point on, you have to choose the OS. What's your OS version you want to install? I'm going to install 7.5. That's the newest version. And then from this point on, you're gonna need to give the CVM memory. Each CVM requires its own memory to make sure that it does all the functional things for you. I'm giving it 20 minimum memory, which is 20 gig per CVM, which is gonna equal to 60 gigabyte of memory. But if you have more memory, give it 32 gigabyte, give it 40. The more you give it, the better it can do things for you. And then I'm gonna run this AHV, but you can run an ESXi or Hyper-V if you wanted to. And then from this point on, I can go ahead choose what's my hypervisor. Installing a hypervisor on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and install 610. That's my hypervisor. I'm gonna install. And then I can enable, this is a new feature. Basically, you can enable Linux Unified Key Store. So when you enable this one, it's basically gonna look for the compatible TPM hardware and then make sure everything is good. I'm not gonna enable this right now, but this might be something good to try in the future. But right now, I'm gonna say I don't want this. So basically, we're gonna hit next. From this point on, I will name the cluster. I'm gonna name a different thing. I teach skills YouTube. Whatever the name I choose, it doesn't matter. It's just a cluster name. I can change this later on. I can also stop forming the cluster, just say skip cluster formation. I can do this manually. And here is the command line to do this manually. If I want to, I could do this and it will just run it for me. It's super simple to do it and it's really easy. But if you want the Nutanix Portable Foundation to do this for you, then you need to select it. The cluster, I'm going to choose to make sure that some of this require licensing, which I don't have. I'm going to choose RF2 just because I don't have the license for it. I'm just doing this for testing for you guys. And then obviously the other thing I could do is I could choose a virtual IP, as I said earlier. And here is one of the things that is important to Nutanix when you're doing this. You definitely need to have your IP addresses laid out like this and so forth. So because if you do this, you won't have to worry about making mistakes. So you can see here, I have my SCSI, I have the cluster data services, cluster data. So all those things is really important. So now it wants the virtual, actually this is gonna be virtual IP, cluster VIP. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna need to go ahead and put this information in here so you'll save us some time later on. So the first thing is the virtual cluster IP is gonna be 74. And then DNS, we can just choose any random DNS. In this case, I can just choose random DNS, like I said, 10.1.0.1, make that my DNS that, and then do the same thing here. I can also put a comma and then, or a space, and then I can put it the next DNS server and it will work fine as well. But I'm gonna just leave it with 1 for now. And everything else is good now, so let's just hit next. I can import the password if I want to, what my Nutanix class password will be. And I'm gonna do this actually to save some time, because if you don't do this one, the cluster will be angry at you for using the default Nutanix/4u password. So we're gonna need to change this and then make sure whatever this is memorable, because you don't want to forget it. So now we did this, we're gonna hit next. The password is not needed, it's gonna wipe, it's gonna do everything for us, because this, again, we did this before, but if you're doing it again, it will ask you for the username and password for the IPMI, and it's super simple thing to do. Once you do that, you hit start, and I have to pause the video because it's gonna take a while for this, but I might also fast forward it. So it's gonna tell me that some of this IP you're trying to set up is already used. Are you sure? Yes, I don't mind. And if you are having an environment where Nutanix is already utilized, you have to pay attention to this message, because you don't want to wipe your nodes accidentally with a new hypervisor. You do not want to do that. You're going to lose all your data. You're going to be probably not going to be popular, and you're going to probably get fired if you do that. Do not do this in a portable foundation on existing services and not check the IP address, whether it's used by another Nutanix instance or not, or Nutanix cluster or not. So very important. So if you do this one, be aware of what you're doing and be aware of the IP address. In this case, I have another Nutanix environment, but I know none of them are used. None of these IPs are used. This is the existing IP to a cluster I already did, the same cluster I already did this. So I'm not going to cause any harm. But if I saw, I'm going to switch my screen to show you something. If somehow the cluster, let me go ahead and show you this so you understand this pretty important information, because it's not something that a lot of people run into. But if you look at my other screen over here, if I somehow make a mistake on making the IP address 80 over here, it will cause me an issue. So the fact is, this is not IP address that's 80, then I'm going to be fine. And if you look at obviously the hardware and you can see the table, you can see all the IPs information. So all these IPs are not in question. It's not the problem. So therefore, I'm good. But if any of this IP were the one that I'm showing the warning for, then it will wipe this cluster over here, and I will not be, again, happy camper, because then I'll have to do everything again. I will lose all my VMs here, and it will not be a fun day to do this thing. So that's why very important that you do this the proper way. Then now, so that we did this, we're gonna hit ignore and continue and reimage. Even though it's nice, I'm gonna also put in the IPMI password, which is very important. If all, we should be fine. Hit once. Managed to do the new foundation, portable foundation successfully. You image your node, do the cluster formation. I named the cluster I teach skills. It's a fitting name for what we do, and it's gonna go ahead and try to do that. But before he does that, we wait for the last reboot on this node. B, we will go ahead oversee the cluster formation. Just like before, I may have to pause or fast forward the video, so that way we don't consume so many extra time. As you can see, things is forming nicely for us, and we are making things happen. If you are somebody who has passion for building something from the ground up, this is where Nutanix Portable Foundation is going to help you. So now it's going to go ahead and start to contact the CVM. And if it's make sure that everything is working, and it has to do this within 600 seconds. If it doesn't, it will fail. It will tell you fatal error occurred. We don't want that, so we hope that it's actually going to go ahead and do this. And so we wait and brace this thing for it to happen. I think for this video, we're done. I'm not actually going to let the cluster form because I'm going to extend my existing cluster. So that's what we're going to do. Let me stop this video and then we're going to go ahead. We're going to do it. So I just ended this.